And good evening everyone. Ayun, naipaliwanag naman na ni Joshua sa atin yung ledgers. And sa ledger, may two basic types of ledgers. Una is yung general ledgers. Yung pangalawa is subsidiary ledgers. And general ledgers. The general ledger summarizes the activity for each of the organization accounts. The general ledgers department update these records from journal vouchers prepared from special journals and other sources located throughout the organizations. Ayun nga, di naman nabago sa atin yung general ledgers, no? Ayun nga, yung general ledger o tinatawag din na is a set of master accounts kung saan naka-record yung transactions. Sa general ledger, nakasummarize na siya kung saan ang nakalagay na lang is yung pinaka-balance transaction na may iba't ibang account, which are types of accounts, assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expense. Pero dito, limitado lang yung pag-record ng transactions. Kaya kung bakit ang nilalagay na lang dito is yung sum na lang ng different subset of subledger. And highly summarized information is sufficient for financial reporting, but it is not useful for supporting daily business operation. Kasi yung subsidiary ledger yung pinakailangan or yung pinaka-guide ng business operation dahil mas detailed yung pag-aano ng doon ng transaction. Next is subsidiary ledgers. Subsidiary ledgers are kept in various accounting departments of the firm, including inventory, accounts payable, payroll, and accounts receivable. This separation provides better control and support operations. Ay nga, subset lang siya ng general ledger. Dito, lahat naka-record yung transaction na kung anong balance na naka-record sa general ledgers. This separation provides better control and support of operation kasi mas detailed siya at madaling ma-analyze yung transaction. Then, ayan, tingin tayo sa figure 6.10 that the total of account balance in a subsidiary ledger should equal the balance in the corresponding general ledger control account. Ayun, dito sa subsidiary ledger, mas nakikita kung saan-saan ba galing yung pinaka-total balance na meron sa general ledgers. In addition to providing financial statement information, the general ledger is a mechanism for verifying the overall accuracy of accounting data that separate accounting departments have processed. Any event incorrectly recorded in a journal or subsidiary ledger will cause an out-of-balance condition that should be detected during the general ledger update. By periodically reconciling summary balances from subsidiary accounts, journals, and control accounts, the completeness and accuracy of transaction processing can be formally assessed. Next is the audit trail. The accounting records described previously provide an audit trail for tracing transactions from source documents to the financial statements. Yung pagkakaintindi ko dito is tinitrace yung bawat source ng documents kung accuracy and completeness ba yung transaction yung nakarecord sa FS, which is ayun nga external auditor yung nag-i-evaluate ng financial statement if fairly stated ba. The many purposes of the audit trail, most important to accountants, is the year-end audit. And ayun nga, involves din dito yung responsibility ng auditor is to review of selected accounts and transactions to determine their validity, accuracy, and completeness. Then, auditor performs similar tests on clients' transaction to arise an overall opinion about the fair presentation of the financial statements. And ayun nga, audit trails play an important role in their process. Next is computer-based system. Ayun nga, we are in the modern technology, pati din yung pagre-record ng transaction is computer-based system na din para mas mapadali at organize yung mga transaction na nare-record. Pero, nag-exist pa rin naman yung manual system pero bibihira na lang. Ayan, types of files. Audit trails in computer are less observable than in traditional manual system but they still exist. Accounting records in computer-based system are represented by four different types of magnetic files. First, master files. Second, transaction files. Third, reference files. And fourth, archive files. Yun nga, yung manual system, nag-exist pa din pero kadalasan na lang ito sa mga maliliit na business enterprise. And ayun nga, yung master file. A master file generally contains account data. Yung example nito ng master file is yung general ledgers and subsidiary ledgers. Data values in master files are updated transaction. Second is yung transaction files. A transaction files is a temporary file of transaction records used to change or update data in a master files. Yung example naman dito is sales orders, inventory receipts, cash receipt. Third, reference files. A reference files stores data that are used as standard for processing transactions. For example, the payroll program may refer to a tax taxable to calculate the proper amount of withholding tax for payroll transaction. Other reference files include price lists used for preparing customer invoices, list of authorized suppliers, employee rosters, and customer credit files for approving credit sales. Fourth, archive files. An archive file contains record of past transactions that are retained for future reference. These transactions form an important part of an audit trail. Archive files include journals, prior period payroll information, lists of former employees, records of accounts written off, and prior period ledgers. Next is the digital audit trail. Dito, ina-assess at ini-evaluate ng auditor yung accuracy ng transaction o kaya gaya ng mga account receivable accounts. Kung nasusunod ba yung mga following steps from manual system to digital systems. Several purpose of a digital audit trail. Ayun nga, una, compare the balance in the balance sheet with the master file account balance. Second, reconcile the accounts console with the subsidiary account total. Pangatlo, select a sample of update entries made to accounts in the subsidiary ledger and trace these to transaction in the sales journal kaya yung archive file. Pang-apat, from these journal entries, identify specific source documents that can be pulled from their files and verified. If necessary, the auditor can confirm the accuracy and propriety of these source documents by contacting the customers in the questions. Ayun nga, next is documentation techniques. The old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words is very applicable when it comes to documenting systems. A written descriptions of a system can be wordy and difficult to follow. Experience has shown that a visual image can convey vital system information more effectively and efficiently than words. Ayun nga, sa pagkakaintindi ko dito is yung documentation is all about flowcharts and diagram. Saka dito, accountant use system documentation routinely as both system designers and auditors. At saka, isa sa pinaka-importanting skills na dapat ma-master ng accountant is yung the ability to document system in graphic forms. Then, merong 5 basic documentation techniques are introduced in these sections. Una, yung data flow program. Second, entity relationship diagrams. Third, system flow charts. Fourth, programs flow chart. Fifth, record layout diagrams. And Yung data flow programs saka entity relationship program diagram. These two diagram is commonly used system designs and documentation techniques. This section introduces the principal features of these techniques, illustrate their use, show how they are related. Next is data flow diagram. The data flow diagrams or DFD uses symbols to represent the entities, process data flows, and data stores that pertain to a system. Ay nga dito, pinapakita lang kung paano yung information to flow through a process or system. Then, ayun, tingin tayo sa figure 6.12. Ayun, yung nakikita natin dito is, ito yung set ng symbols na most commonly used. First na box o symbol is tinatawag na external entity na represent as human, system, or subsystem o kaya customer. It is where certain data comes from or goes to. Ay nga, yung description is input source or output destination data. Second is yung process description or process order. Ay nga, a person that is triggered or supported by data. Third is data store, a store of data such as a transaction file, a master file, or reference file. Sa pagkakaintindi ko dito is yung parang nire-represent as inventory, ganon. Tas yung huli naman is data flow. Yung arrow, ito yung direction ng data flow. Then, next is, tingin tayo sa figure 6.13. Data flow diagram of sales order processing system. Halimbawa, isa itong manufacturing business. Ayun, tingin muna tayo dun sa kay customer. Ayun, si customer, which is, siya yung entity. Tapos, tatawag siya or pupunta dun kay approved sales. Ay, nakaturo na yung arrow dun kay approved sales para mag-order ng isang product. Tapos si approved sales naman, siya yung process order dito. Tapos yung credit record, nakatutok na yun sa approved sales kasi dapat bago sila mag-approve ng order ay titignan muna nila yung data storage or inventory kung may sapat ba siyang supplies na maibibigay sa customer, which is yung credit records dito, siya yung inventory o kaya yung data storage. Then, after nun, si approved sales, pupunta naman dun kay ship goods, which is, siya yung may hawak ng stocks at para i-ready yung item or product na i-deliver. Anya, dito, si approved sales naman, pupunta na sa customer bill para ma-process yung babayaran ng customer. At ganun din si ship goods para ma-notice na ready na i-deliver yung isang product. Pero bago i-packing item, titignan muna ng ship goods yung shipping log or babasahin niya muna yung transaction information, which is yung shipping log nga. Tapos si customer bill naman ay gagawa na ng receipt para mapadala din kay customer. Then si customer bill, ayun, pupunta na dun sa prepare accounts receivable, mapoposting na siya ng data. Tapos sa baba naman pupunta rin si bill customer sa sales order. Ayun lang yung pagkakaintindi ko dito sa illustration. Next is entity relationship diagram. An entity relationship diagram is a documentation technique used to represent the relationship between entities. Entities are physical resources, events, and agents about which the organization wishes to capture data. Ay nga, one common use for diagram is to model an organization database. Dito kasi sa diagram helps you to define terms related to entity relationship modeling. Saka dito sa ina-allow din tayo para ma-communicate with the logical structure of the database to users. Then, tingin tayo sa figure 6.14. Dito, pinapakita yung set ng symbols na ginagamit sa ER diagram. Yung square represent as entities ng system. Yung labeled connecting line represent the nature of the relationship between two entities. Tas may tinatawag na cardinality, which is the degree of relationship is the numerical mapping between entity instances. Ito yung 1:1, 1:many, and many to many. Then, yung cardinality nagre-reflect din siya sa normal business as well as organizational policy. Ayun nga yung example dito is yung the ones to ones cardinality is suggest that each salesperson in the organization is assigned one automobile. If instead the organization policy were to assign a single automobile to one or more salesperson who share it, this policy would be reflected by one is to many relationship. Thus, the many to many relationship between vendor and inventory implies that the organization buys the same types of product from one or more vendors. Thus, a company's policy to buy the particular items from a single vendor would be reflected by one is to many cardinality. Next is relationship between ER diagrams and data flow diagrams. DFD and ER diagram depict different aspects of the same system, but they are related and can be reconciled. A DFD is a model of system processes, and the ER diagram models the data used in or affected by the system. The two diagrams are related through data. Each data stored in the DFD represent a corresponding data entity in the ER diagram. Ayun lang po. And thank you po. And the next reporter is Angelica Mangkil.